Good evening, everybody. Okay, we're going to be talking today about decimals, and some of my favorite math actually involves decimals. Today we're going to talk about representing, comparing, and ordering decimals. Now, as you can see on your screen, I have a very crudely drawn decimals chart. Now, I'm going to show you a lot of things in class, a lot of different ways to look at decimals. This is just a really easy one, and the reason I drew it this way instead of copying and pasting a real picture is just to show that you can draw your own decimal chart anytime. Whether it's on your homework, whether you get a test and you want to write this on a separate piece of scratch paper, you can do this yourself. So I have hundreds, tens, and ones. Then I actually have my decimal point, which is, we can also think of that as and. Okay. Then when we get to the right side of the decimal point, you have tenths, and I'm emphasizing the THS because everything on the right ends with that th sound. You have hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths, 100,000ths. Okay, and you can go from there. Now I want to show you one really quick trick when you're reading decimals, how to read them. So let's say you had a number that looked like this. How would you read that out loud? Okay, this is the standard form of this number, but how would you use words to describe that number if I asked you to read that number out loud? Well, you read this number first, the whole number first, which is 12. When you see the decimal point, you say and. Just like you would say $12 and 18 cents, right? The decimal separates the whole number from the part of the whole number. Okay, so we have 12 and then you, whatever this number over here is, you read the number. So you're not going to read the 0. We're going to know it's there based on what decimal you read. So you're going to read the 35, and then the last digit, or the last place value that contains a digit, which in this case the 5 is in the thousandths, that's what you're going to say. So I'm going to use blue ink here to demonstrate. 12 and 35 thousandths. Okay, easy enough. Let's keep going. Okay, I have a number here. This number is 1 and 5 hundredths because the 5 is in the hundredth spot. Okay, I know there's a 0 in the 10th spot because I didn't read a number. I didn't read a digit for that spot. As you can see, our expanded form of that number, you have 1 whole plus 5 hundredths, right? 1 whole plus 5 hundredths. If you added that up, that's exactly what you would get. In fact, let's do it real quick. 1 plus, ooh, how do you do that? Well, we're going to get to it a little bit later, but we're going to put 1.0, right? Because there's 1 and there's no tenths or hundredths. We can add another 0 here. Plus 0.05. or 5 hundredths. You simply add as normal. 5 plus 0, 0 plus 0. Bring down the decimal, 1 plus 0. You end up with 1 and 5 hundredths. And then the word form, you write it exactly as you say it. So I'm going to use orange here to circle this. If you saw that number, you would say 1 and 5 hundredths. If I ask you to write it in word form, you would write 1 and 5 hundredths. Just that easy. Let's keep going. Okay. We've got, here we have an expanded form. Okay, so they've given us the expanded form, and they want the standard form. They've also given us the word form. So if we read it, we have 517 10,000ths. Okay, so I know there's no whole number, so I'm going to start with 0. I'm going to add my decimal. Okay, as I look up here, I can see that the tenths place is a 0. There's nothing there, so I'm going to put a 0. And then my hundredths place is a 5. So I'm going to add my 5. Okay, those are my first 2 digits to the right of the decimal. So there's a 0 there, there's a 0 there. My third digit to the right is a 1. I'm going to add a 1. So I have my first 3 digits to the right of my decimal point. So I know I don't need anything 1, 2, 3. I don't need anything there. But my next digit is a 7. So I have 0 and 517 ten thousandths, because the 7 is in the 10,000ths place. And if you hear my dog barking in the background, it's because you know he loves math, okay, right? He loves decimals, okay? Almost as much as he loves treats, right? Okay, let's keep going. 16 and 900ths. Well, they've given us the word form here. And one of the words I want to point out, I've pointed it out already, but you see and. Well, that tells me decimal, okay? So if I'm going to write this in standard form, my first number is 16. I read 16, I write 16. It's that easy. I see the and, that means I add my decimal. And then I'm going to add 9, right? Because it says 900ths. Oh, not quite, okay? I hope I didn't trick you, but if I did, that's okay. 16 and 900ths. I know that my first decimal, or my first place value, is tenths. Well, there's no tenths there, so I have to add that 0. Then I put a 9 in the hundredths spot. So I end up with 16.09. In expanded form, well, I have a 1 in the tens place, so I have 10, plus I have a 6 in the ones place, so I add 6, plus I have nothing in the tenths place, so I don't need to write that. But I do have a 9 in the hundredths place, so I need to put 0.09, or 9 hundredths. Okay? This says, order the decimals from least to greatest. When you're ordering, one thing I've always found it very easy to do. I have 14 and 35 hundredths, I have 14 and 3 tenths, and I have 14 and 5 hundredths. I'm going to line these up, and you might say, well, Mr. Quick, they don't line up exactly correctly because this second number here doesn't have anything in the hundredth spot. Well, that's okay. I'm going to line up the decimals, and it doesn't matter if all the ones places add up, if the digit to the right, to the far right of the decimal doesn't line up. I'm lining up my decimal points, and that's how we're going to do it. That's how we're going to get it. Now, you might look at this and say, well, Mr. Quick, what about this guy right here? What about 14.3? 14 and 3 tenths. Well, it's easy. We're going to make that into an equivalent decimal, and we're going to just add a 0, because there really is no hundredths in that problem, so we can put a 0. There's no hundredths, there's 0 hundredths, we can add a 0. And then really, the easiest way for us to do it is to look at it, think about it like money. Especially, it's really easy when you only go to that hundredths spot, because it looks like a dollar amount, right? $14.35, $14.30, $14.05. This tells us least to greatest, so our least is going to go first. Well, $14.05, or 14.05, with my sloppy writing there, sorry about that, is going to go first. Then we're down, we can cross that out, we've used it, we're done with it. We're down to 14 and 35 hundredths, or 14 and 30 hundredths, or 3 tenths, same difference. Well, would you rather have $14.35 or $14.30? I know it's not much, but I'd rather have $14.35. That's going to come last, because that's our greatest amount, and so the $14.30 goes in the middle. So from least to greatest, here we go. All right, I know we're running a little low on time, so I want to rush through this and knock this out, and we can talk more about it tomorrow or the next time we see each other. But if we're comparing using less than, greater than, or equal to, 8.04 is less than, greater than, or equal to 8.403. Well, it's just like when we compare any numbers. We're going to start with our biggest digits, which are both in the ones place, and they're both 8. So can't do that. So that doesn't help us. Okay. Our next digit, over here we have a 0, over here we have a 4. That can help us. The 4 tenths is bigger than the 0 tenths. So I know that we have the 8 and 4 hundredths is going to be less than 8.403. Okay? Down here, our second problem. That's a little different. It's comparing one number in standard form and one number in word form. But the cool thing is, we can write a number in word form. We can write it in numeral or standard form. 10 and, so there's my decimal, 100th. So there's no tenths, but there's 100th. Okay, so the tens cancel out. Then our next digit, we have a 0 over here. We have a 1 here. So that one is going to be larger. Okay. What I would like for you to do, two quick questions for you that I'd like you to write down and bring to class tomorrow. Which decimal has the least value? And I'm not going to read these decimals because that might give it away if I read it out loud, but you can look at them and write that down. And then also I want you to name 3 numbers that fall between 1.5 and 1.6. 1 and 5 tenths and 1 and 6 tenths. Okay, think about it on a number line. If I had 1.5 here, I had 1.6 here, what numbers would fall in here? Okay, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.